All right, I'm live. Let's see, I'm live on Facebook and YouTube. Hi there, Instagram. I'm live on Instagram. Y'all, as soon as I was coming to go live, my contact and it's still twitching. I don't know, something jumped in my eye and oh my gosh, it's still twitching. So I doubt I'll be on here long because I can barely see. Anyway, welcome to Love Power Wednesdays. I apologize for my tardiness. I've been working with this eye and then for a while. So I don't know what's going on with it. And it's twitching. But at least I was able to get my contact back in. I can see a little bit. So welcome to Love Power Wednesday. I am Carmen, your faith and empowerment coach, your Love Power life leader. Really here to support you in living your best life. And really it's a life fulfilled. It's a life that is empowered by God so that you can show up fully, so that you can be authentic and connected in your faith, connected to the life that you desire, and connected to love. And so those tend to be where I talk about tonight. One of the things I want to talk about, I put in the title, is dare to do greater, right? And it's kind of piggybacking off of one of my favorite authors, speakers, is Brene Brown. She has a great book called Daring Greatly. And there's a quote from Theodore Roosevelt that she actually uses to base this book off of, the title of the book. And so I'll read the quote and I'll talk about that. Then I'll also share with you a scripture. I just realized that my Bible is on the other side of the room. Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. All right, sorry about that. I was just over there. So yeah, and I'll share with you a scripture that Jesus left with us, right? Gave us to operate in greater. So let me read the quote. Thank y'all for joining in. You know what? I think it might be allergies. And I've never suffered from allergies today. I think it might be allergies. My eye doctor actually gave me last year a prescription. I probably should go back and get it refilled for some drops. So you might be right. I think you are right. But I never suffer from them, so it never really hits me that that's what it is. But yeah, yeah. I guess at this age, things start to happen. Things I've never had to experience before. Yeah. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful. The alternative. I'm grateful for this over the alternative, right? So all the things that come with aging. Although I feel very good about aging. So that's a whole nother topic. But yes, allergies have come. I think, and that's what I'm experiencing. So let me read this quote by Brene Brown about daring greatly, and then because it's so good. So it was actually by Theodore Roosevelt, but she bases her book off of it. But it says, it is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out the strong man. Excuse me, let me back up because my eyes twitching. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly. And that quote, again, she based this whole book off. And so one of the things I teach, and I teach personal leadership and support teams and leadership growth and development in my consulting and training side of my business. So I don't talk a lot about that online. Is what I do. A lot of things. That's a lot of the work that I do offline. But I just really felt I wanted to share that with y'all today to really challenge you to dare to be great, right? Dare to be greater, actually, and dare to do greater. And a lot of times that quote really is about, a lot of times there are people that talk about, oh, she didn't do this, or she should have done this, and they should have done this. And there's this judgment really that comes from the folks who are watching, the spectators. but they're not down in the arena, getting their tails kicked, showing up every day in entrepreneurship, showing up every day in corporate America, getting the work done, showing up, raising their hand, volunteering for things that are going to stretch them. And so sometimes when you're in that space and you hear those voices, it causes you to rethink or sometimes question what you're doing, and is it even worth, right? I like, you might be like, I feel like I'm getting knocked out in this ring. Is it even worth it? And so this quote really is about you daring greatly. Like, even if, because we know that a part of failure is a part of success, and failure is not even it. It's the lessons learned, right? So it may not have happened or gone the way you want it to, or in the time frame you want it to be. And some would say failure. I would say you've learned. There's a kind of a saying about failing forward. That's when you take whatever failure, quote unquote, I put it in quotes, take whatever failure and you use that to move you forward. And see, when you don't succeed, when it doesn't happen in the way you want it to happen, and just to let you all know, I'm looking at Facebook and YouTube over here and then Instagram over here. So when it doesn't happen the way you want it to happen, it doesn't mean that you fail, because you never start back over from zero, right? You never start back over from zero. You always start back with the lessons you've learned from the previous time you tried it. You start back with new insights and new wisdom about yourself, about whatever it is you're working toward. And so you always start back at a higher level than when you were before. Even when you hit rock bottom, you hear people say, I hit rock bottom, but even rock bottom, like, you come back from rock bottom knowing things that you didn't know before. And so your comeback, right, allows you to do and be greater. So this quote by Theodore Roosevelt, which Brene Brown pulls out so wonderfully in her book, really is about tuning out the folks that are spectating and trying to tell you what you should or should not be doing, and really owning what you do, owning yourself in the ring, owning your own fight, owning your own race in the ring. And so I want to read John chapter 14, verse 12. And tonight I have, because I just grabbed the first Bible I saw that I was reading from earlier, John 14, 12. I have the English Standard Version of the Bible. And I wanted to share words that have been left with us by Jesus. And those of y'all that know, the Bible is my book of truth. And so that's the book that I hold as the standard that I do my best to align my life and my thoughts and my actions with. And so if that's where you are, you'll resonate. Even if it's not where you are, I think what I'm sharing will resonate with you. But it says in verse 12, truly, truly, I say to you, whoever believes in me will also do the works that I do. And greater works than these will he do, because I am going to the Father. And he says, whatever you ask in my name, this I will do, and the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask me anything in my name, I will do it. Right? So that right there, like, Jesus is like, listen, all the things I've done, you can do greater. Greater because, one, he's going with the Father, so he's kind of his work on earth. Let me say that his earthly work had been completed, but also greater in that now we've been empowered. We are now also a collective body doing these things. So we should see in our world greater works and greater outcomes. And so that whole thing of daring to be greater and daring greatly really is like God calling us forth to more, to show up more, and I don't mean more in a draining way. I don't mean more in a because I'm all about energy management. That's the E in LovePower. E is energy management. So I don't mean in a draining way. What I mean is a more powerful way, right? And so our power, those of us that are believers, is connected to our source of God. Like I say this all the time, God is the secret source on whatever, a secret sauce on whatever you're doing. So it is, the power really is about being connected. And so being able to show up greater is directly correlated to your showing up more in your gifts, talents, skills that God has given you, showing up more in the wisdom that God's giving you. So God tells us, like, we can ask, like He gives wisdom to us freely. We need to ask for it, and it's given to us freely. And so there's some things that we are experiencing in our life and in our businesses, in our jobs, in our careers, in our families, and all these things that we can do greater in that. Just like we saw Jesus do healings, like we can see that in our life. We can see that healing, quote unquote, in our business. If there's something, a hole in your business, a leak in your business, somewhere where the income structure is not what it needs to be, you're not getting, listen, we have been empowered to do greater. And so those of you and us who have stepped into the ring, who decided to come out of spectator, right, in the arena and sitting and watching, and then not just watching, the spectators were also criticizing. Like, oh, look at him. He fell down. Look at her. She stumbled. And spectating, much like we do, with football on Sundays, right? Monday quarterbacking, as they call it, where you come and talk about, oh, he should have thrown the ball, he shouldn't have done that. Like, much like we do in football, which is why those football players should not be listening to us, because we are not in the game talking about what we're going to do and what we would have done, what they should have done, right? The same thing is happening in your life. People are pointing out and saying, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And I'm saying, you need to, if they're not in the arena, if you don't see them fighting their own fight, doing what they need to be doing in life, doing what they need to be doing in their business, doing what they need to be doing in their family, in their own, like, their critique is null and void. There's a scripture that talks about getting the plank out of your eye before you can even get the speck out of your brother's eye, right? So a plank, a huge piece of wood, you got to first remove that from your eye before you even talk about. So that's what we have. People commenting, a big conversation, which I was like, man, I didn't realize so many brothers cared. But a big conversation, right, that this week was all about Sierra and what she had on, what she didn't have on, really, right, and her clothes. And I was just like, I was amazed at the number of men that were involved in that, and people in general, in that conversation, just because, like, y'all spectating. This is them people life. I will get into the details of it, but I'm saying the way we criticize, look to other people, or look at their lives and criticize what they should or should not be doing, when that same thing is done to us, we feel some type of way. And I'm saying we need to ignore, just like they need to ignore us when we're criticizing what a celebrity's doing or criticizing what an athlete is doing. They're ignoring us, because in order to get to certain levels in life, you got to learn how to block certain people out. And that's what I want to challenge you to be. I want to challenge you to do. There are people, in order for you to dare to do greater, you got to put on some tunnel vision and focus on the race that you have been put before you, that's been put before you. You have to focus on the fight that's before you. So if you're in the arena and you're fighting and these spectators are talking, keep doing what you're doing. Dare to be greater. And then Jesus tells us we have the opportunity, we have the ability to do even greater works. And so I want you to take that challenge and look at your life as a part of your own personal leadership. Like, where can I show up better? Where can I show up greater? Where can I show up in a way that's elevated from what I did yesterday, where I can be better than I was 2 weeks ago, a year ago, right? Having the same issues, going around the same mountain over and over again. Sometimes we go around the same mountain, but we need to at a higher level, right? Like, dealing with some of the things that used to trip you up shouldn't be tripping you up anymore, right? Because we're going for greater. And I want to challenge you to dare to do greater. What that looks like, it may look like that you are going to send out more proposals, right? That you're going to do more calls to people, that you're going to do more emails. And I'm talking to myself too. In your work life, it might look like you're going to actually take the classes, right? Your job is offering classes, offering you opportunities for not necessarily promotion yet, but the classes are tied to your promotion, classes about how you can do your job better, and you're not taking advantage of those. Dare to do greater. Go and do that. Go get in the arena so you can fight for the life that God has for you. It's not gonna be handed to you. It's ease in it. It's flow. You can operate in ease and you can operate in flow. Jesus tells us my burdens are no, I didn't forgot the whole thing. My yoke is easy, my burdens are light, right? And so when we're connected, yoked up, right? And that's a whole teaching about being yoked to something. It's a agricultural farming term when they would put two cows or mules or horses or whatever, they put them together, yoked them together, that the thing that was holding them together around their necks was a yoke. So one had a piece around their neck and it was connected, a little arm came out, and then another one had it around their neck, and they were yoked together. And he's saying, my yoke is easy, right? So we don't have to stress and struggle. So that, please don't hear me say that at all. But there is more that's being required of us. There is greater that is being required of us. There's greater that we have access to, that we can actually do to impact the world. And I'm so thankful, and I see so many people, and maybe it's just because like attracts like. So the communities that I'm a part of, the business groups that I'm a part of, the professional organizations I'm a part of, they all are about like following God's plan for their life so that they can do greater. Now I see posts from people, about business and haters, and because that's not where I operate, that's not the realm, that's not the energy I operate in, that's not the realm I operate in. I don't see that often. So that's not stuff it's not on the daily. So when people are talking about not being supported in business and people not doing, like, that's not even, again, I have learned to block out the people that are in the Raptors talking, right? And so I don't even see a lot of that stuff. I say this a lot, like I probably have haters, but I have no idea who they are because that's how much attention I give to that, right? And so I have no idea who they are. And that's fine. Anyway, I say all that to say, push yourself a little bit more. Dare to do greater, right? In your life, and operating in excellence. And this is for all of us. There's a place to step up, a place we can do greater, do better, do more. And again, not in a way that's draining, not in a way that's going to make you tired, but in a way that actually allows for greater fruit. We should see greater fruit from that. A way that when it's aligned with God's plan for us, when we go to God and connect to the source and hear and get the downloads, we are then empowered to do greater works. We're empowered to show up greater. Our light shines more. So one of the things I had to own about me was I belong up front and on stage with a mic in my hand. And I remember being like, that feels so, I thought it felt arrogant a little bit, but guys are like, that's the gift that I have. Today I host events and do MC events, I should say, and so I serve as the host and facilitator for events. And like today, it was just affirmed even more. Like, that is where I belong. Literally, people coming. Why? Because I said, I'm a dare to do greater. This is something that I had not stepped out to show a lot of people to do. Been doing it like small things here and there sprinkled, but it's like I was challenged today to dare to do greater in that area, to show up more in that area, to share more about that part of what I do, my gift, my talent, and being able to facilitate and host and keep an event going and keep people engaged and lively and having a great time, all while they're learning, all while they're maybe processing information to other presenters. Like, it is just all while they're connecting and networking. It's one of those gifts that God has given me and that I've been able to enhance and grow in. I say all that to say, I'm challenging myself to dare to do greater. And I'm inviting you to do the same in whatever profession, your business, career, even your life as a mom or parent, a dad, your life as a friend, right? Where can you do greater? Can you show up greater? By making those phone calls, sending that text when somebody's on your heart. So dad, let's just do a little bit greater. I think 2023 is going to be a pivotal year. It's like it's almost like a crossroad year. It's what I feel in my spirit for me. And I don't walk in the office of prophet, but I do. God gives me downloads, and I share those with people. But for me, I feel like it's we're at a crossroad. That 2023 will be a crossroad. Like what you choose to do this year will determine which way you go, right? Are you gonna are you gonna end up going backwards? Like, you know what I mean? You see those it's the image of those when you're going on a one-way street and you're trying to, and there's usually a road that'll curve back that'll take you back the other way to the one-way street. Like that literally is the crossroad. Are you gonna keep going the way that God has for you to go, which is gonna require greater, or are you gonna turn back? And you're not even gonna realize you're turning back, right? Because sometimes like you think this is why being connected to God is so important, because the things we did before may not be the things that's going to get, no, not may not. They won't be the things that's going to get us to the next. And so counting on an old word from God when we're in a new season, you need to go back, check it, make sure that that's still the plan. Make sure that, and when I say still the plan, that you haven't lost your way in some way, right? Making sure you heard from God clearly, because I believe 2023 is a pivotal year. And so once you, like this year will set you up for greater. And when I mean greater, I mean exponentially greater. Not just income, but joy and peace and the life that you never knew was available to you or desired, but wasn't quite sure. Yeah, greater is available. And that requires us to be connected, to show up, and to get in the ring, get in the arena and do the work, like do the fighting we have to do. And what I mean by fighting is fighting the gremlins. I call them gremlins that are in your head that are keeping you from moving forward. Again, I'm talking to myself too, fighting the self-doubt, fighting the tiredness. I've seen so many posts about the time change and how tired they are. And you got to fight through that. This year, I actually told myself I'm not participating in the time change drag on my energy. And y'all know what? I have not felt any of the shift of the time, like the time. I have not felt that like I usually feel. I decided, you know what? I'll be fine. It's an hour. I'll be fine. Right. And I am. And so there's a level of fight that you have to be prepared for in this arena, and it really is in our mind. It really is about overcoming shortcomings that you think you might have, or being more focused because we see so many things. Listen, shiny object syndrome. Trust, I have to really regulate. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a great. This is oh, and I have to like, no, Carmen, that's not where you are. You don't need that. Like you got everything you need right now, and go forward. And so it's going to require more discipline to do greater. And I want to just encourage you to dare to do greater. It's available to us, y'all. And the outcomes, again, are exponential. Whatever you place in the seed, in the soil, whatever seeds you place in the soil, it always reaps a greater harvest. And so plant the seeds. And the seeds is the work. The seeds are showing up to the phone calls that you need to make. The seeds are sending emails you need to send. The seeds are taking the training you may need to take. For some of you, the seeds are not taking the training because you need to sit down and get quiet and watch the training you already bought and purchased. For others, it may be getting a mentor, right? Hiring a coach. Those things that are going to help you get and dare to do greater, because this is the season. I feel it so strongly. And this is not, I'm not a hype you up kind of person. That ain't what I do. I I don't profit lie. I'll tell you in a minute. I think this, or I'll tell you this is what I should have heard from God. Like I know how to make those distinctions, and so I share that with people. So this year is going to be pivotal and important. Now that for sure I heard from God, and I want to share that with for you to think about that and where you can show up greater, because the seeds that you plant now, the seeds that you get, the harvest from those, and some of y'all are already harvesting things from you planted before, but this harvest from this seed this year, exponential. I believe that with all in me, because that's what he told me. So I want you all to, I want us all to live like fulfilled, to be, and fulfillment to me is at peace. It is full of joy and abundance. It is the life that Jesus said he came to live. I came that you may have life and have it more abundantly. He actually, when you read it in the amplified version, it says to the full. That's actually how I named my company, Life Fulfilled Coaching and Consulting, because I want to see us live a life fulfilled. And that starts with us daring to do greater. Showing up in the arena and doing greater. Ignoring the folks and the spectators and doing greater. Not more all the time. Please hear me. Not necessarily more, right? But doing what we're currently doing at a greater level, the next level up, pushing yourself just a little bit more. There's a quote about steam at 211 degrees. It's just steam, or it's boiling, and then at 212 degrees it switches and becomes steam that can power a locomotive, steam that can be used for energy. And so just a little bit more is the challenge tonight, to dare to do greater. We've been empowered, we've been instructed even by Jesus that we have the ability to do even greater works. We have that. And so own that. Own that for yourself. Trust God at his word. It never returns void. So own this for yourself and walk in it, and just watch. We're in March. We're ending the first quarter of this year. Watch what God will do. Thank you, Acacia. Watch what God will do. Thank you, Tyson Multimedia. If I know you personally, hello. I don't know the name personally, but I'm glad you're joining. Thank you for commenting. So with that, I want to say good night. Thank you. I love to keep LovePower Wednesdays down to 30 minutes or less. So we're coming up on that time, but just take that with you. Dare to do greater. Take the quote I shared earlier. If you're watching this on a replay, put hashtag replay, so I know that, and I can actually come back into the comments, and we can talk and engage. And if there's questions you have, reach out, inbox me, DM me. I'm happy to support you in living greater, daring to be greater. If there are some things that you need to work through that are blocking you from that, that's what I do. I help you unblock those things, because it's going to be required, right, for your next. And I don't want anything holding you back. All right, with that, love you, love you, love you. Thank y'all for joining. And good night. Thanks for joining, IG. I'll see y'all. Good night. Good night, Facebook. Good night, YouTube. Thank y'all for joining. Good night.